And I stop sharing. Open line. Hari Om. Om Sri Chinmaya Sadguruve Namaha. My humble pranams to one and all. Let us start today's session with invocation. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Viddvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today, we are blessed to have Param Pujya Swami Swaroopanandaji to bless us. As the head of Chinmaya Mission worldwide, Param Pujya Swami Swaroopanandaji, fondly known as Mukhya Swamiji, relentlessly and dynamically pursues Param Pujya Gurudev's grand spiritual and organizational vision. Pujya Swami Swaroopanandaji is an ocean of knowledge and compassion. Swamiji's inspiring discourses have an essence that blends authenticity with accessibility, theory with self practice, logic with heart. Pujya Swamiji started his inquisitive journey at an early age to seek what he now calls real answers to real problems. Pujya Swamiji was convinced that beyond our everyday superficial joys and sorrows, there was something more, something higher. Pujya Swamiji, through his talks, reminds us that there is a greater and more compelling truth that provides the solutions to all our problems, enabling us to live a truly happy and positive life. In this present unprecedented situation due to pandemic, many among us endure emotional challenges. To help us sustain during this challenging period and to maintain a healthy mind, Pujya Swami Swaroopanandaji will enlighten us on the topic Mind the Mind. After the session, we will have an interactive session. So I would request all the attendees to post the questions in the chat box. My very humble prostrations at the lotus feet of Param Pujya Swamiji. Over to you, Swamiji.
Young book and Gurudev's blessings. You will start with a short invocation. Proceed to the topic. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti समस्तजनकल्याणे तं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. I was once sitting in a park, and in front of me there was a rose garden. There were beautiful roses blooming, some in the bud form, some had fully bloomed, others were beginning to wither, but the colorful sight was beautiful. At that time, one young man came there, saw the roses, and standing there, composed a beautiful poetry and started singing. Many gathered there to listen to him. Another man came, saw the same red rose, and started weeping. He was crying away. And there came a biology teacher, a botany teacher, with a group of children, made them touch the rose, classified them under some rosa, some name, and walked away from there. Three people who saw the same rose had completely different response to that rose. One obviously had just fallen in love, and seeing his beloved in that rose compose that poetry with such ecstasy must have had heartbreak, and therefore looking at the rose started weeping. And the students of the school, indifferent, analyzed the rose and left from there untouched, but maybe having learned about the rose. Each one facing the same life situation. Either we derive joy or sorrow or are indifferent in that experience. It all depends upon the condition of the mind at that moment in that experience. In fact, we are what our minds are at this moment. If the mind is in a good mood, everything around you is beautiful. Even if somebody brings some tragic news, it's at that moment, if you are happy, you can take it much bravely. At the same time, if your mind, the mood of your mind is low, everything around you appears like a tragedy. I'll give you an example. Once I was sitting with a group of people abroad, and we Indians, to criticize our country. We find great glory in showing our weaknesses. And they were sitting and criticizing, as usual, our country, our culture, our religion. They were just going on and on and on. And very often, I've heard this conversation amongst people. And then one started, everybody else started. Everybody started speaking like this. Whole conversation sounded quite pathetic. Today's language, people would say depressive. But I kept on hearing this conversation. Finally, I interrupted and I said that if India is so bad, then why do all of you, every holiday season, want to rush to India? Why don't you just stay abroad? Don't go to India at all. Why do Indians in India always want to leave abroad to study, leave abroad to find a living or to live, uh, a more comfortable life, while everything is available in India? But still, having gone there, sitting and criticizing, I then still want to come back to India. When I made them start thinking, they said, yeah, but there is something in India, something in our country, something in our people. There is some love. There is some, well, one thing is at least you're fed very well. They would just, suddenly the whole mood changed. And when we started focusing on what was good in India, what was good in the people of India, yes, in every situation, every place, there are things which are good, there are things which are bad, there are things which are noble, there are things which are evil. But you will see our mind catches, dwells some on that which is positive most of the time, and others negative, if not all the time, most of the time. Therefore, we are what our minds are at this moment. If your mind is happy, the whole world seems to be happy, like the first lover who came to see the rose. Everything is beautiful. Everything reminds him of his love and the joy of loving. Now, the one who's had a heartbreak, who's miserable inside, the whole world appears to be miserable. When a lover sees the rains coming in, he says, look, look how the heaven is showering love upon the earth. But a depressed person looks at it and says, see, even the heavens are crying. Our perception of the world, our life, whether it is joyful or miserable, productive or procrastinating and lazy, progressive or declining, this depends upon our, as our mind, as our Gurudev says, as our mind, so we are, and so is our experience in life. So also is our success and our failure in life. And therefore, this very special equipment, this most sophisticated equipment in the world, the human mind, does also have mind. But human mind has, along with itself, faculty to discriminate, which we call as the intellect, to expand its knowledge. It has got memory. All these thoughts or types of thoughts go to make our mind. And it is this, with this mind, we work in the world, we experience the world, we transact in the world, we have our family and relationships, and as teachers, it is with this mind you communicate to the children, and the responsibility of facilitating the growth, the positive growth of the minds of the students. It's very important that in every aspect of our, it is the mind that makes all the difference. Therefore, we know so much about everybody's incidents of life. We judge them, we gossip about them, we like to hear about everything in the world. We even learn a lot about the world in our physics, chemistry, sociology. What do we know about this? We even take courses on management, but we know nothing about this manager of our, the mind. Today, even if we get one equipment, and today everybody is using smartphones, but they are smarter than us because we hardly know how to use their features. And if there is any troubleshooting, it is those who have read the manual can prevent the trouble, and maybe with a few simple clicks, like many times your children only help you out with your smartphones. They come with a manual, but we rarely read the manual. And this most sophisticated equipment that makes the smartphone also smart. We know anything on, and when we know our mind, then only we can interact constructively, positively with the minds of the people, especially where we've got the responsibility to facilitate their growth, such as your children, your team members, your students. Therefore, the great rishis have said that this mind alone is the cause of our bondage, even in this samsara, even in this world. It is the cause of our sorrow, not God, not incidents, not situations in this world. This mind alone is the cause of our own self-imposed limitations. This mind is the cause of our joy and sorrow. This mind is the cause of our elevation or also of our decline. Therefore, it is so important to nurture, to train, to tame this mind. Therefore, mind is the mind. And how much do we really know of our mind? Even if you go to a psychologist, to understand your mind is very, very difficult. When it trips, when it reacts. Therefore, the sooner in life we, our students, children, youth, trained to understand this mind. At the same time, train this mind in the way the great thinkers, the rishis, have pointed out, by which they created a generation of people or generations of people with such great intellectual achievements in probably every field of science that today we take great pride as we we remember the great heritage in the various knowledge systems and traditions that we have. We can only be proud that we have lost at this moment even the mindset, the type of mind that can think in a particular manner by which we can understand the rich heritage, the rich sciences, the amazing, probably inexpensive technology, which we see still visible in some architectural wonders that are existing today. If we only go and see some of them, we'll be amazed that to what heights, even materialistically, when we read those books, even such as the Bhagavad Gita, the highest philosophical book that deals with the mind and who we really are and how effectively we can act in the world with equanimity, with peace, attaining the eternal happiness, at the same time spreading that happiness around us. And isn't that what everybody truly wants? But if we ask ourselves, what is it that we really want? Even what we want, we are not very clear. And therefore, we jump from one want to another want, one desire to another desire, one goal to another goal, one relationship these days to another relationship, one job to another job, never finding satisfaction because we don't even know and how it will react to any situations. We have not trained the mind according to its whims and fancies. It reacts to the situation, and sometimes an opportunity is taken pessimistically as a disaster or as a failure, and we become anxious or disappointed. If we were to train our mind to accept the results of our actions graciously, with faith and confidence, we can turn our apparent failures to success. In every situation of our life, we can find the secret of happiness and be independent to be happy. Because if we look and observe our mind is constantly, continuously trying to move away from anything uncomfortable and sorrow, disturbance and agitations to a state of ease, and therefore in every disease we feel dis-ease, to find peace, and every endeavor of ours is to be happy. A person marries also to be happy, and divorces also to be, don't tell me happy.
Hariom Swami,
Yes.
I think the audience are complaining the audio is low. So can we try small things only? This is Suresh here. So
Yes.
on your WebEx, where there is exit, there's a red bar with exit. So that there are next to the three buttons on the screen. Can you see it on the screen? There is a new start video.
Yes, three buttons. Yes.
After that, there are three dots on there.
Hello?
If you click the three dots, there is a switch audio system.
Camera settings.
If you say three dots on the top, there's a switch audio. Connect to music. Next to leave meeting, there are three dots.
I see three dots on this picture on my video. It says video options.
No, not on the video song. On
Found that.
where you say mute, start video and all that, do you see such an option?
No, I see move to stage. There's another three dots which says move to stage, make presenter.
No, that is on the picture song. The three dots are you are taken on the picture, but can you minimize your screen? I mean, I don't know the full screen view or layout. Or can you try without the app? Or no, I think. Can you try without app?
Clearly now?
I can hear you. Vinu, can you come online, please? Are you able to hear sound clearly now? Vishnu. Hello, Vishnu.
Yes, Suresh.
Is this check for Swami is clear or not? Swami, can you say something now, Swami?
Ayom, is it clear?
It is a bit on the lower side.
Where I can put
So-
the volume higher.
It's on lower side. So Swami, you see participants and all that. Can you minimize? Is there a way to? No. There's a leave. There's a button to leave, or we can try one of the things only. You have to switch the audio. That's the only way is to find this option.
Let me mute myself first and then see.
Is it on? So Swami, on the top, there's a menu called audio and video. Can you see that? On the top, there's a menu, edit, file, share, audio, video. On the screen.
Don't have any of those things.
Cisco, no, nothing is there. I think Swami is in full screen mode, I think. Can you press escape? Can you press escape?
Escape, I got WebEx, meeting info, type.
Yes. Below that file, edit, share, there is one thing called audio video.
I don't see why there is nothing of that.
Show menu bar. Just hide menu bar, show menu bar. Click on that. Meeting info, next to meeting info. Sorry, Cisco bed is meeting info. Just so it's on the meeting. Next to it is a hide menu bar.
I don't see anything else.
Are you? Not even hide menu bar.
General.
Show hide menu bar is not there. Vinu, can you make me the host, please?
Just a moment.
Sorry, is there an option to share on the top? You see that? No? No share screen option also is not there?
See, I have only one bar on the top with all the
And
names that are coming up, which says meeting info, live, recording in progress, connected. Hello?
Oh yeah, there's one listening song. Yes, then that's it.
That's it.
Then oh, song is version that's different. Actually, I'm not sure you song, but there are a lot of people complaining about it's slow.
Even when I was listening to the introduction, there was a lot of static.
That I also had some. That video, the video was playing.
Okay, let me try without the earphones.
Yeah, please. But that would also mean song is a switch.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you soundly clearly. Vinu, what about you? Vishnu, how about you?
It is still on bit on the lower side, I guess. The thing is, Swamiji, could you please disconnect the AirPods altogether, and then
Disconnect and
yes,
restart. Yeah, earpods have been disconnected.
So, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just got a call from Shanti. I think we'll continue. Just that a little louder we have to speak now, that's all, son. It's on lower side, but it is okay. Let's continue, so much.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
There is sound preference. Put sound. Okay. Is it better now?
You should try something. You should only change some sound preferences,
Only increases my. Now is it better?
yeah, it's increasing.
Increasing, but it's on the highest note. Okay.
Okay, sound. Let's try some. Let's go ahead.
This is a way, just like technology, this mental technology also, when will it suddenly bring about some disruption, some discord? We generally don't know. It just happens. So, therefore, it's important to mind this mind. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, this mind is your best friend, this mind is your deadliest enemy. Which mind is our best friend? That mind which we know how to mind. That mind which is well under our mastery is our best friend. But that mind which works according to its whims and fancies and enslaves us, that mind is our deadliest enemy. Guru Nanak Sahib also says, win the mind, win the world. Jeete, jag jeet. Therefore, it's very important to understand the mind. I hope the sound is clear. I'll speak even loudly for everybody. But if nothing else, then later on probably they can send you the link to the recording. But just try to pay attention, and that also will tell a lot about our mind and how our mind reacts. This mind is the equipment with which we progress also. So we do not have to destroy or crush or even suppress this mind. This mind, not only in this life, but for lifetimes, has kept us completely under its sway and its control. It is indeed, as Shankaracharya says, Maya at play. How we remain identified with this mind and this ever changing mind with its different moods, how it seems to influence us. And we get carried away and live in sorrow and misery. Most of our life is indeed a very unique phenomenon. However, this mind has not to be destroyed. This mind, as I repeat again, is not to be suppressed or crushed. This mind has to be tamed, trained, and befriended. Then such a mind leads us even to liberation, freedom. And your freedom, you have to understand that we are free to act in a situation according to our knowledge, not according to our emotions. We are then free to be happy in every situation, not disturbed by every situation. That is called as liberation, moksha, or freedom. And with the right training of the mind, by which we have the knowledge of what is the mind, what is the source of the, we can not only master this mind, also transcend this mind. Today, we will be just talking about how we mind this mind. How do we train this mind so that our life is beautiful, our life is productive, our relationships are joyful and meaningful. And such a mind then on the spiritual path can lead us to meditation and knowledge, to liberation. Now, when the opponent is so strong, we cannot have victory over the opponent by mere force or power. What we require is strategy. If you see also, most battles with the most powerful army or the mighty fortresses or even the Great Wall of China, all these were conquered not by mere force or by mere power, but by strategy. If we understand the mind and we know what gives power or strength to the mind, and remember, in management, there is one beautiful statement that is often said. You are as strong as your weakest link. You are as strong as your weakest link. So what gives strength to the mind is also that by which we find the weakness of the, and if we have to befriend the mind, conquer the mind, to be able to meet all life situations without being a victim, therefore, not be a conqueror of the world like Alexander, but to be a master of all circumstances, this mind has to be observed, understood. Its strengths and weaknesses must be recognized. The strategy by which we tame this mind, we should know, then this mind is very easily befriended. Otherwise, it is the mightiest force behind the universe, the very creator of our world of experience. To conquer such a mind is then not an easy job. And yet the rishis have pointed out to master this mind, master our life, master the world. So in these sessions, some very few but direct tips on what we should be doing. First and foremost, and which is also the highest sadhana, is every day spend some time observing your mind. Let us say at first, studying your mind. And like all scientific discoveries, and only that is called as science, that with whatever the teacher has taught, we experiment and experience it for ourselves. Experiment with it and see it for ourselves. And the first and foremost is, as you may have also observed in a classroom or even your children at home, sometimes they become so restless, they become so naughty, and you may shout, scream at them, but nothing works. And the moment you turn your back, they are again up to some mischief. But if the mother of the or the teacher just pauses that class for a minute, or pauses her work, or the father pauses his work for a minute, becomes silent and just looks at that child or that student, even without saying anything, without scolding, just looks at that child, just observes, suddenly find that child becomes conscious, stops doing the mischief. Same way, a very easy, powerful tool to quieten the mind and its restlessness is spending some time alone with people, just alone. And it can be just few minutes in the day, early in the morning and late in the evening before you're sleeping. Spend some time as an observer, just watching the flow of your thoughts. And you will begin to recognize that mind is a very peculiar entity. It is a constant flow of thoughts. Thoughts come and thoughts go. There may be similar thoughts, but at no given moment, it is the same thought. Thus, as Gurudev Swami Chinmaya says very beautifully, that mind is a constant flow of thoughts, just as a river is not just a pool of stagnant water. It is a constant flow of thoughts that gives you the image of a constant river, but not in a given moment. It is the same water that was there the earlier moment, or the same drop of water that will be there in the next. If this we understand of the mind, then we know that the mind is constantly changing. And if we know that the mind is constantly changing, then understand that that which is constantly changing, if it is not difficult to change it. If it was rigid, if it was stationary, it would be hard to change it. Because it's constantly changing, this mind can be changed. Therefore, our Guruji gives very often nice jokes about it. Somebody comes and tells somebody, I changed my mind. You ask that person, is it any better? So if we change it, we allow a positive change. So change this mind is not difficult because we are constantly changing. That's why we say, I changed my mind, I changed my mood. My feelings for you have changed. My opinion about you have changed. My goal has changed. So if we observe the mind, know that this mind is made up of thoughts, but these thoughts are constantly moving. Just as water moves in the river, so also our mind is a river of thoughts. So once we learn to observe the mind is made up of thoughts. There are different types of thoughts. And therefore, the inner equipment by rishis have been divided into four. Manaha, where there is sakalpa, vikalpa, when there are doubts in the mind, should I not? When all these things are there in the mind, that wavering mind is called as manaha. But when you discriminate, when you are logical, when you are conclusive and have conviction, that is called as the intellect. When you make nischay, decisions, it is the intellect. Then there is the seat of memory, chitta. Memories come, and these memories, when they come, they just come. Therefore, it is so important that we take care of our present and make each moment of our present not only productive but joyful and happy. And to be happy right now is in your hand. Because if your life is full of miseries, the memories when they come to you, they will be miserable memories. Therefore, let's create maximum happy memories today, right now, so that the memory of our next earlier moment or of yesterday or of the past will bring us happiness. There is no glory in making our present miserable due to our anticipation of the future, or even when memories from the past that brings regrets. How we respond today. And therefore, when we observe our mind regularly, We develop this capacity just as it is easy for you to teach someone than to practice yourself, to give an opinion than to make a decision for yourself. Same way, if you learn to observe your mind, recognize that every moment I want to be happy, and the happiness of the moment depends on our memories of the past and how do we react to those memories in the present. Our future depends upon how we act in the present. So how do we respond and act in the present? How do we react and act in the present is so important. And to develop this knack of being an observer of your, to start off, if every day we spend few minutes observing the mind, then we can start introspecting. Run the events of the day in your mind. And when you run the events of the day in your mind, detect what disturbed your mind. Don't condemn your mind. Detect what disturbed your mind. What caused agitations? What made you react in a certain way that now you feel guilty or regretful? Detect what causes you these negative feelings, such as sorrow, guilt, remorse. What disturbed and agitated your mind? Your anxiety. Just when you observe it, see it for itself. Because the strategy of conquering the mind is that the mind, by its own nature, wants peace and happiness. But it thinks that it gets peace and happiness by getting angry on someone, dominating on someone, or desiring something, wanting something, obsessive and possessive about something. You observe, the mind itself begins to recognize that very want, that very expectation is the cause of my sorrow. And when we directly experience the cause of our sorrow, just as if the mind thinks that this person is the cause of my sorrow, how you want to get out of that, get out of their company. Even sometimes parents want their children to get out of the house because we think that that child is the cause of our sorrow. And even that child whom you are attached to, when you find out that your sorrow is unbearable because of that child, you easily detach. But you cannot give up the love. That which causes you the sorrow, that is what you will easily give up. So therefore, spend time observing. The scriptures, the books of knowledge. When we say scriptures, don't just brush it as religion. These are books of the highest spiritual psychology, such as the Bhagavad Gita. They are pointing out to us what and how we observe our mind. What is the cause of our limitations and sorrows? What conditions our thinking and our lofty visions? What stops the progress in our life? And what is the cause of our sorrow and misery? But even after we learn it from these books, until and unless you directly experience that this is the cause of my sorrow, just as doctors might tell you, just as the doctors might tell you that these are foods that you must avoid for diabetes, yet you like it. You will crave for it, you will want it, you love the taste for it, you will make compromises, you will eat it, and you will still take pills until the diabetes starts creating other neurological problems, the pains, etc. Still, we will not give up our wrong lifestyle till it directly hits you. And you see it for yourself that that day you ate something and your health deteriorated so suddenly that you are in pain. Is it worth for that few minutes of, or even few seconds of taste to lose a limb? The moment it hits you, you recognize it, your mind instantly will detach from it. But it is just an informative knowledge, no? This mind only deludes us. Therefore, I can tell you many beautiful, beautiful values, positive values, but they don't replace our negative notions until unless we recognize that that which is called as negative, evil, pictured as rakshasas, asuras, the various thoughts and tendencies of our. And when we recognize that that peace and happiness is always with us, but what is the cause that agitates our mind? And what is that by which the agitations of our mind come to a rest? Again, we can give you hundreds of a list of things to be avoided and to be added in our life. But this key practice of daily observing your mind and introspecting, where you yourself detect what is the cause of the agitation, why did your mind got anxious, disturbed, etc. Whether you enjoy that agitation or you don't want that agitation. Once you know it is the cause of your suffering, not a person outside, but how your mind reacted to that experience or that person or that situation, even which appeared as a calamity. Later on, you regret, I should have acted like this, I should have acted like that. So we know, but once we recognize that this is the cause of my sorrow, this is the cause of my agitation, this is the cause of my limitation. This is what I'm holding on to. Just like a child at first in summer holds on to a piece of ice. At first, it gives him a sense of pleasure. And afterwards, it's burning because it's evaporating and the skin gets heated up. He doesn't know the science of it. You, as a physics teacher, can tell that how can a cooling ice burn your skin, numb your skin, cause pain. You can tell the whole science, but till the child does not let go of that ice, therefore the mother will come, pull the ice out of the child's hand. Child feels relieved. It's your intellect, when it recognizes what is the cause of your pain, your sorrow, your laziness, your lack of progress, will immediately drop its clinging attachment to that feeling, that response, that tendency, that thought. Thus, as Gurudev says, that even in your journey, highest journey to meditation, or for your achievements in life, introspection is a must, daily introspection. Run the events of the day of your life. Stop blaming people, situations of life, but recognize you responded to that situation, whether it gave you happiness or it gave you joy. Once you have detected the cause of your sorrow or your limitation or your wrong reaction, with conviction, tell to yourself that negate it, I drop it. Imagine teaching our children to do that. We all know what is right and wrong, good and bad. We don't need really lessons in that as much. It's only the higher karma that is conflicting sometimes when we don't recognize. But basic values of life that we like in others, we all know, that makes a person lovable, that we want to be friends with, likable, or we see in them the reasons of their being successful, then why not have those qualities in us? Therefore, negate. So, detect, hate, then substitute it with these positive qualities. Now, whatever qualities, whatever training, whatever upbringing, whatever may be a past belief and knowledge, today, these vasanas, these impressions, make your mind behave in a particular manner, respond in a particular manner, react in a particular manner, act in a particular manner. Isn't it? Therefore, understand what gives its power is the habit of its past. Vedanta, we talk with a very technical word called as vasanas, but let's not get into it. It's simple thing, habit. If your mind is habituated to live in or to think in a particular manner, feel a particular manner, and action by action, thought by thought, you've entertained these negative thoughts and created this negative channels or patterns of your mind, spontaneously, immediately, your mind reacts in that manner. That even at this moment, with your knowledge, with your understanding, very often you say, I knew it, I shouldn't have done it, but you still do it. I knew what I should have done, and yet I made a mistake. I know I should have not said these words, or should have not lost my temper, but I didn't. And we find ourselves completely helpless. And in time we give up and say, that's how I am. Now what can I do? Accept me for what I am. But we can't accept anybody else for what they are. The moment we begin to detect and recognize its limitation and its power over us, its negativity, then to make that change. Therefore, Mahatma Gandhi's great statement, be the change that you want to see in the world. The moment your mind changes, the very situation that appeared to be a calamity becomes an opportunity. That's why it's there with those people who are positive, who've got leadership qualities, those who are innovative. How do we cultivate all that? In the Gayatri Mantra, even talks on that. You can listen to that on Chinmaya channel. In fact, every teacher who wants to effectively make the children intelligent, not just dump information into them and give marks for that which has just been narrated out of memory. To create intelligence, the secret is when the mind is calm, and the mind is calm, then all those that agitate the mind, the negativities are removed. And the mind is full of positivity. Full mind develops the intelligence, that capacity to know beyond your present limited knowledge, to have that conviction, the strength of conviction to make a difference in your habitual patterns. At the same time, one key method of conquering the mind is it gets its power from its past habit, its past vasanas. And you create habit by repeated action by action, repeated thoughts. You create a habit. It's not overnight that you got into certain addictions. You keep repeating it, you get addicted to it. Same way today, your behavior, your character, your good as well as your bad is according to the habits that you have created. Therefore, instead of first struggling with bad habits, two things we should do. We know what is wrong and we teach that to the children. Prevention is better than cure. The earlier we know that which is addictive and harmful, that we should prevent. But remember, an idle mind is a devil's workshop when we say. Because the mind keeps on brooding, fantasizing, and we find a lot of joy in those fantasies, never really in the direct experience. Therefore, keep the mind busy with your duty or job at hand. And if you're keeping your mind on that, first of all, it is not fantasizing, it is not brooding, it is not even affected by memories of the past, negative memories, but you're actively participating in the present. And in the present, what actions you do, what thoughts you entertain, will become the habits of your future. Therefore, if you create positive habits, positive disciplines earlier in life, and it's never too late. In fact, the mind itself, which now takes you towards sorrow, takes you towards negativity, takes you towards procrastination, takes you towards regrets, that mind itself flows in the positive direction. Therefore, give the mind to think, enough of watching these negative news. You know that corona is there. What do we do about it? Think positively. The moment you put your mind to something positive and act in that direction, not only you make things happen positive, but you train your mind to bring about positive results. You learn how to make it happen. You train your mind to think positively rather than think negatively. By putting your mind to, how do I change this situation for the better? What do I do to make it better and not rather become bitter? Therefore, keep the mind thinking of positive things. Very important is what company we keep. Tell that to the children. But company not only of the people, the television programs, the books that we read, the news that we see, the interest in the news that we see. There are so many positive news. Why do we get so fascinated by negative gossip? There's so many positivities in the people that if we can see and try to bring it out of them, than seeing the negative and feeling miserable. Therefore, two things. To prevent creating negative thinking or habits, keep your mind busy with your duties, your positive actions. Second is that create positive actions and don't keep the mind idle. Don't fantasize the result, but keep in your mind clear knowledge. Nobler ideas. Nobler ideas means where you accommodate the benefit of not only you, but others around you. Thus, you generate friendship, love, harmony. Think of these ideas positively. And when you constantly are thinking these positive ideas, you will find that it becomes a bit of the mind to think positively. These then become your virtues. And the mind just spontaneously takes you to the spiritual path or towards goodness or towards joy and happiness or to react positively in negative situations and not see them as negative. Then it becomes a habit. That's why you find there are people who are good they're effortlessly good. And those who are bad, they're effortlessly bad. You know? And they find great difficulty in being good. It appears like it's a great thing. If we just recognize these, cultivate positive thoughts. One of the most essential spiritual sadhana, which will help us even in developing our concentration, our positivities, prevent our negativities, is japa. All mantras are of a positive value, ideal, or identity. And keeping that ideal, if you constantly, as I said, if you try to understand the Gayatri Mantra, it is available on Chinmaya channel for all of you, especially teachers. How to constantly repeat, because habits are created by repetition. And mantra japa not only makes your mind focus, it constantly reminds you of a higher ideal. The wonderful thing I told, this mind has to be conquered through strategy. As you think, so you become. Think of a greater ideal or a greater personality, or even God that represents all nobility, all virtues, all goodness, all power, all benevolence, all love, all kindness, wisdom. Even like a teacher, when to correct the student, when to even scold the student, when to encourage the student, wisdom will come when we constantly remember, hold on to an ideal and keep on repeating in our mind. That is called as japa. And what you keep on repeating becomes a habit. What becomes a habit? Remove an H, a bit remains. Remove A bit remains. Remove the B, it remains. This is how you conquer your mind. Then you think about the positive values, which are the antidote of your negative values, such as compassion, kindness, forgiveness. You free yourself from agitations. You benefit from it, whether the other person benefits or not. Not only you, but many benefit. So, detect, hate, and substitute with positive thoughts, positive ideals, positive goals, positive actions. Create a habit of it. Therefore, one of the most effective books on management, all talking about goals, etc. Said successful, no, habits of successful people. To create a habit of being positive, create a habit of being good, create a habit of being efficient and effective. When we do that, then this mind self sees us like a good friend with joy, happiness, peace, progress. Therefore, we learn to mind the mind. The highest spiritual sadhana also, you learn to observe your mind without being involved with the mind. You are consciousness. the seer of the mind. Therefore, whatever may be the conditions of the mind, is which is eternal, own essential nature. Satyam Shivam Sundaram, because it is blissful. So, very briefly today, this topic spoken. So read good literature, read the Bhagavad Gita. Today it is available for you, and Gurudev's commentary of the Bhagavad Gita is available for all you teachers free of charge online. Please approach, study the Bhagavad Gita, which is teaching to you what is your mind. You master your mind. You can help all the students, predominantly or the teachers, to conquer their mind. Now I will this discourse, and if you have any questions, ask them to ask to answer those questions in short.
Vidyalaya. Thank you, Swamiji, for enlightening us. Swamiji, we have received some questions in the chat box. May I read the questions?
Please.
So the first question is, how can we recognize the strengths and weaknesses of our mind?
As I said, first thing is start observing your mind. It will reveal to you, to your intellect, what is your positivity, and your actions tell you, as well as your well-wishers, such as parents, those who love you, not who are constantly criticizing you because they're upset with you. Not only your positivity, sometimes they point out your negativities also. So they are a good mirror for you. But if you sit and observe, that's why I started off. First, observe your mind. You will recognize your strength and your weaknesses also of the mind.
Thank you, Swamiji. Swamiji, the second question we have is, how can we keep our mind calm in every situation?
At this moment, as I said, there are a number of things in the mind. Expectations, desires, likes and dislikes, and its past, what to say, vasanas, impressions, etc. So, in all these situations, it will not be easy to be in all times. Therefore, three qualities that you must cultivate. One is forgiveness. The moment you forgive someone, now forgiveness is not a favor on someone. Obviously, that person has done something wrong, you correct that person. But from your heart, don't hold on to the grievance that makes you suffer. Thus, you free yourself from the past. Forgiveness. Compassion. In the present, have compassion. Just like you make mistakes, others make mistakes. Have compassion even on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Do your best, leave the rest. That doesn't mean be lazy, careless, etc. Most important thing is that any situation that has come, stop blaming anyone for it. Whether it is difficult, whether it is challenging, accept the present as it is. One attitude, if you can develop, know that whatever has come your way, whether it's the result of your action, whether it is God's wish, or whether somebody has done something. If you accept the situation, your mind is calm, you know how to act positively in that situation. And keep that attitude that it is for the best. If you have devotion and faith, it's the Lord's wish, it is for the best. That even if my parent is giving me a bitter medicine, I must complain, I must scream and shout as a child. But even as a child, I know that my parent will give me only that which is for my ultimate good. Keep that attitude, and in the present, you can be calm. So take every situation with acceptance and know it is for your development, it is for the best. Now, what you do with it, you will experience the best.
Swamiji, there is one more question. Many a times we determine to tame the mind on certain practices, but we lose our control. How could we achieve our determination?
Regular practice. You said create the habit. No? So good company you keep will encourage you. Discipline yourself, because what distracts you is the pleasure of your senses. Let them enjoy at that time which is enjoyable, and those things which are not harmful. But when you're doing your duties, when you're doing your studies, when you're teaching, when you're doing your spiritual practices, at that time, therefore, if you have a fixed time for your introspection, for your meditation, for your study, we tell that to the children. Take regularity, punctuality in your practices. There will be days your meditation also will not be good, but sit nevertheless. The mind gets into the habit. Don't you tell the children, you sit and revise this many hours, you have to sit. Yes, the mind requires a little break, etc. Give it that break that you have planned for. But be regular with your practice. Be a little bit strict with yourself. Strict with yourself, which means that if the day you have not done your practice, then say, today you're not going to watch that television show, nor you're going to record it. Be a little bit strict with yourself, but keep yourself regular and punctual in your practices. Every time you divert, there will be distractions, but remind yourself and bring it back to your practice. Regular practice creates a habit, and afterwards it becomes easy.
Thank you, Param Pujya Swamiji, for answering our queries. Pujya Swamiji, I once again prostrate at your lotus feet and express our deepest gratitude for accepting our invitation and blessing us. I thank everyone for attending the session and making the program a grand success. I thank one and all.
Grateful.
Let us
I'm grateful to
conclude
all the
today's session.
organizers. I'm grateful to all the organizers for having organized this program and for all of you to attend it. Just brief notes in the ending that there are beautiful books of knowledge, which are Gurudev, Manual of Self-Unfoldment, Art of Man-Making, Meditation and Life, which deal with our mind. Across the Bhagavad Gita. Please get one of these books. Read it. Work on your mind. Once your mind becomes your best friend, it's the most wonderful thing. And that way you can assist our children also. Our CVP program, Chinmaya Vision program, for all our schools helps the teachers and the taught. Take it up sincerely. And all these by which you master your mind are there in that, helping you as you help the children to master their mind. Take up the CVP program in all our schools, not only Chinmaya Vidyalayas, in all the other schools also, and encourage other schools to take it up. These are universal. or to say teachings which easily bring about positivity. If you can immediately inquire and make your schools Chinmaya Vision schools, which gives you the program of this self-development, telling you not only the school, the teachers, and the children develop, everybody develops. So, wish you all the best, and with gratitude, we'll end with the Shanti part. If somebody else is doing the Shanti part, please do it, or I'll just do it.
ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम्